You guys know, everybody knows, that probably, depending on by which metric you want to go by, the Avengers franchise, not the MCU as a whole, but the Avengers franchise, by per movie box office results, is the biggest film franchise in the history of Hollywood. There has never been a bigger film franchise, titled franchise, ever in the history of Hollywood. If you go by on a per movie basis and the box office results of those, it beats out Harry Potter, it beats out Star Wars, it beats out James Bond, it beats out everything. It is the biggest franchise ever. And we, including me, have been fairly safe in assuming that this is going to be a franchise. There's going to be Avengers 5 and Avengers 6 and Avengers 7 and Avengers 8 and Avengers 9. But we are now a number of years removed from Avengers Endgame with no word about the next Avengers. We have went back and checked. We have never gone this long in between Avengers movies without an announcement about what either A, when the next Avengers movie is coming, or B, what it's going to be about, or whatever. We've never gone this long. That movie came out in 2019, Avengers Endgame. Came out in 2019. It's now 2022. Now, granted, there's been a global pandemic and all that kind of stuff, but we have never gone this long without an announcement of some sorts or indicator about what the next Avengers is going to be. Well, we might have a reason why that is. Because Kevin Feige just did an interview on an official Marvel podcast. And, well, I'll let you hear what he had to say himself. He said the following. Marvel Studios and the cinematic universe is now past their 10th anniversary, and with the release of the final Avengers movie, we finally completed a 22 movie Infinity Saga. Talking back and reflecting back on that whole Infinity Saga said, again, Marvel Studios and the Marvel Cinematic Universe is now past their 10th anniversary, and with the release of the final Avengers movie, we finally completed a 22 movie Infinity Saga. All right. It's always dangerous when you're just getting into playing a game of semantics, but it's a game we've got to play right now because a lot of outlets are running with the headline, understandably so, that Kevin Feige just said that Avengers Endgame was the final Avengers movie. And that ain't clickbait. That's exactly what he just said. Now, whether or not he meant that, or whether or not he just didn't word it right, okay, that can be up for debate. But the fact is that Kevin Feige just said that Endgame was the final Avengers movie. And I've got to give this a little bit of weight. Because when you hear him say that, and then you realize that it has been years since the last Avengers movie, and we've heard nothing about new Avengers movies. We've heard tons about the future of Black Panther, not just of the next movie, but the television series coming beyond. We've heard tons of stuff about the Ms. and Mrs. and Captain Marvel families moving forward and what they're going to do. We've heard a lot about the future of Moon Knight and how She-Hulk's going to play into things. Fantastic Four is coming. We got Professor X coming into Doctor Strange too. A little bit of a roadmap there for the X-Men. Hell, we had that big Disney Investors Days meeting where they talked about all this stuff, and not in all these years since Endgame, not one mention about Avengers coming or going and what they might do, or what the future might be. And in light of all that, that being the context, Kevin Feige now comes out and says that was the final Avengers movie. Now look, let me say this. Skip to the end here a little bit. I don't believe this was the final Avengers movie. I think this might just be something in the wording of Kevin Feige. Like, I also don't think this is Kevin Feige trying to mislead the audience. I think he may have misworded this from saying the last. What he should have said was the last Avengers movie. He shouldn't have said the final one. But again, if you are somebody who believes that Kevin Feige just told us that that was indeed the final one, you're not crazy, because there's enough anecdotal evidence there to kind of support it. Because again, I remember I was talking to my buddy the other day, well, it was probably more like 2 or 3 weeks ago, about the fact that, my friend asked me, hey, Campea, you're the movie guy. How come we haven't heard anything about a new Avengers movie? Haven't heard anything since before the pandemic. And I'm like, you know what? That's a good question. I don't know. I don't know. They seem to have the next 5 years planned out and nothing about an Avengers movie. And in that context, having Feige says that was the final one, I get it. You got to take that, at least consider it seriously, that maybe it's the last one. Again, I don't think so. And maybe there is semantics going on here. Maybe we are going to get another Avengers movie. It ain't going to be called Avengers. It's going to be called West Coast Avengers. Or it's going to be called The New Avengers. Or it's going to be called Avengers Plus or Avengers Max. I mean, I don't know. It could be one of those things.
I'm thinking he meant that core group. That initial group is the original
That's
Avengers.
another possibility.
You know, we won't see another Avengers with that there.
Right. Now, it's important to point out that's not what he said.
I know, but
that's
what I take it as.
Right? Because you are not going to see that Avenger. James Gunn, we recently did this cover. James Gunn recently did made a statement about Guardians of the Galaxy saying this is going to be the last time you see that group of Guardians together. And maybe that's kind of what Kevin Feige was implying at here. But whatever the case, words matter. And his choice of words here certainly got a lot of people kind of spinning here. Anyway, Rob, let me ask you this. What do you think about Feige's statement? And what do you think about the fact that we haven't heard anything about an Avengers thing? We've never gone this long between hearing about things about it. How are you interpreting this whole situation?
There will be an Avengers 5 in 2025.
You think 2025?
Absolutely.
That far off?
100%.
So 6 years in between Avengers movies.
Forget the pandemic. Phase 4 of Marvel didn't begin until 2021 with Black Widow. It took 5 years from the time Iron Man was released to get Avengers 1. It will take another 5 years. They will announce Avengers 5 in 2023. As a matter of fact, if you really think, like if anybody thinks, it ain't show friends, it is show business. And like you pointed out, this is the most lucrative franchise ever in the history of movies. And what they are doing now is they are building up the new characters that are going to be in that Avengers movie. It's going to be Shang-Chi. It's going to be Moon Knight. It's going to be all the characters that they're introducing. And it's going to be, right now, the pieces are being put into place. And whether, I mean, the problem is they don't have to announce. When he says, Kevin Feige said final because that's right. Right now, that's the final Avengers movie. He's not stupid. That guy knows exactly what words he uses. He knows exactly what he says. There's no malapropisms that come out of his mouth. That guy knows. And when he says final, do you think he wasn't sitting back thinking to himself, all these clickbait articles? I'm sure he must get a call every single day from the marketing department at Disney going, I don't know how you do this, dude, but you just generate headlines. We couldn't pay for the kind of press that we're getting. And by the word final, even Kevin Feige's probably like, well, is only 4 Avengers movies. There isn't any more. That's the final one. I was using the right word. And he's like, why would anybody think that there wouldn't be Avengers movies? I mean, we're Marvel. That's what we do. The Avengers is literally our core. That is the basis for our entire universe. There's going to be one. It's going to come out in 2025. It's probably either going to be Secret Wars or something else. I guarantee it.
I believe there's going to be more Avengers, but there might be a bit of a twist on it. It is important to point out, though, that between the release of Iron Man and 2019, there were 4 Avengers films released in that period, which is an average of 2.5. Every 2.5 years, they had a new Avengers film out. So that would represent a 6-year gap between the one Avengers and that one. I think it's clear we're not going to get an Avengers movie anytime soon. I think we're all in agreement about that.
But remember, they were building, this was methodical. They were building up Avengers. If they had released an Avengers movie, they're like Paul Masson. They will release no wine before it's time. I mean, that's what they're
Dan,
shrewdly.
you just dated yourself.
I know, right? They're shrewdly building up that's what they do. They build the foundation, so the foundation is solid. And when the Avengers 5 comes out, whatever it's going to be, dude, I sat in that theater 5 years into the MCU. I sat there. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. I couldn't believe there was an Avengers movie. It was fantastic. And they're coming off of the entire Infinity Saga. They can't just throw an Avengers movie out. They've got to build up to it. We got Arishem the Judge coming back. We got Galactus out there. We got the Fantastic Four. We got the X-Men. There's so much stuff that they're going to build. By the time Avengers 5 comes out, we're going to want it so bad. I'm telling you.
I would argue that we're already there. I kind of lean towards more what Ray is saying. Actually, it kind of does. You're kind of alluding to it as well, that I think there's a sense here that the next Avengers movie is not going to be Avengers. Like, it's either a semantic play on the fact that this is a totally new cast of characters, or they're going to, because you yourself, I remember you called this, because if it ever does happen, we got to remind everybody you called this a long time ago, that there will be a West Coast Avengers. Now, I've not believed that, but you have.
I hope
and
so.
It'll probably be a series.
Might be serious, but it could be that's what the next iteration of our big team is not going to be called Avengers. It's going to be called New Avengers or West Coast Avengers, or again, Avengers Max, whatever it is.
Avengers Premium Plus.
Avengers Premium Plus.
I think it's going to be straight up Avengers.
Could be.
Really?
I do, because that's the brand, and that is, I mean, the Avengers, as far as comics go, even now, as an old man like me, like I am, Avengers, even when I was a kid, there was a cachet. When you were talking Avengers, there was the Justice League and there was the Avengers, and they were the Mount Olympus of comic pantheons. And you don't change that. It is the Avengers.
Mm-hmm. It might be the new Avengers.
West Coast Avengers was always like the new Coke.
Or the next Avengers.
Or the young Avengers.
The
Exactly.
next Avengers is probably
2099.
That's
Great
not
Lakes.
yeah.
There's all these, and I think we'll hear them referred to in the show or movie as this of these mighty Avengers, the West Coast
mighty
team, the ultimate. But I don't know if it's going to be the title of a movie.
And
the new class. Avengers, the new class.
Yeah, look what we're getting now. Look at Doctor Strange is about as bonkers. I mean, if we're not getting an Avengers movie this year, I think Spider-Man No Way Home and Doctor Strange, it's like getting two Civil Wars in a way. I mean, Civil Wars was Avengers 2.0, and now we're getting, come on.
And also, like, they're working in some other properties too that are groups like Fantastic Four, X-Men.
All these things are coming into play.
I mean, for them to look how many years it took them to build this one Avengers, the whole arc of it. I mean, including all those other groups coming in. It might not be in the near future, but it'll be later on.
I'll even throw something out, even though I don't think this is likely. If the theory we're talking about Wanda bringing back the mutants,
right, which I want to talk about again a little bit later.
The next Avengers movie could be Avengers versus X-Men.
That would be awesome.
Because that was a pretty cool comic. I mean, it was, and you bring the Avengers, what happens when the X-Men show up? And the X-Men are not like 5 dudes. The X-Men are hundreds, a giant pantheon of characters.
Sure, but that movie wouldn't be 3 years away. Yeah, like if you want to do Avengers versus X-Men, number one, you got to bring the X-Men in.
Yes.
And then you got to establish the X-Men, get them their own sort of thing. So that would, if they do that, that would be something that's probably 6-7 years away,
And
I would
could
guess.
be.
And
I could see them
there
doing
would have to
3.
be some deaths too, right? In that, like kill off people. They
Well,
would have
I mean,
to kill
Marvel
people.
doesn't kill anybody.
Oh, right.
I mean, if everybody fake dies and comes back, and
I mean, what are the Avengers? Right now, there is no Avengers right now. We don't even know what the status is of the team. You know, all the members of the team are scattered to the 4 winds.
So that goes to the point I was going to bring up next, because I think there's 2 very interesting movies on the docket right now that I think are going to pretty much give us a much clearer picture of what lies ahead for both of them. I think the Flashpoint movie for DC is really going to lay out for the audience, this is where we see the DC movies going. And I think Doctor Strange 2 is that movie for Marvel. I think Doctor Strange 2 is going to be an insanely pivotal film that is going to be the movie that for us says, okay, here's where we're at with the MCU right now. Because you're right, a lot of us have been asking the questions. What is going on with the Avengers? We don't even know who's in the Avengers right now. We don't even know what the Avengers is right now. I think there's a lot of questions about the world as a whole. And just as I think Flash is going to kind of say, this is where DC is at right now, I think Doctor Strange is going to be the movie to do that for the MCU.
I think you're absolutely right.
I think we're going to get a lot of answers.
I think you're right, but I do think it's going to be the beginning of the introduction of the X-Men.
Well, I mean, we got Patrick Stewart
Yeah, I mean,
in the trailer.
however they're going to do that,
Yeah.
they're going to. And again, I hark back. This is a strange thing to say, but Kevin Feige is a huge Star Trek fan, and we talked about how Endgame was going to deal with all good things. You know how Captain Picard was jumping through eras.
Greatest series finale in the history of TV, by the way.
If you're a Star Trek fan, Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness is going to be it's going to be yesterday's Enterprise. I think the shifting of time, the Klingon War. If Kevin Feige was thinking all good things for Endgame, Doctor Strange is going to be yesterday's Enterprise. I don't know how, but that's in my mind. It's going to be analogous to that somehow, where there was an alternate future and all that.
Chris, you've been hearing all this. Kevin Feige says that one was the final one. I don't think any of us really believe that at all. Again, the complete dead silence on anything Avengers related, I think makes it so if there are people out there who take those words seriously, I think they have some basis to think that.
Sure.
But you're hearing all this. What's your take on it?
I mean, as I said, I don't believe anyone anymore. You tell me it's not happening, I don't believe you, Feige. Table flip. Everyone's lying to me. I think this is just that everyone is. Everyone's lying all the time. I think this is just the end of that iteration, like y'all were saying. I think we're gonna have a new team. And that'll be fun. Let's do some Dark Avengers. Let's do some other stuff. Let's really explore this. Let's do AIM. I'm really excited for these other teams. It's just going to be the end of this core group that we're used to. We're going to make way for all the other heroes.
Now, by the way, Rob can't see it, but up on the screen, I have like one of the promo pieces from Endgame. And in that promo piece, let's look at who we still have, right? Rocket is still there. Nebula is still there. War Machine is still there. Widow gone. Thor is still there. Tony and Cap are gone, but they'll be back. Banner is still there. Hawkeye theoretically is still there. Ant-Man is still here. Captain Marvel is still here. Okoye is still here. So out of this huge thing, there's still a lot of characters still around, kicking around, but the heart and the soul is Cap and Tony, and they are gone. And if you're one of the people who's of the belief that this is just him referring to the iteration of the Avengers that we have known, well, yeah, that because the heartbeat of it, Cap and Tony, they're gone. Really, you could make an argument that the entire Infinity Saga is really the story of Tony and Captain Rogers. It has been their franchise up until that point with a lot of very strong supporting characters. And maybe this is just a representation of a transition period. But whatever. Guys, oh no, Ray, what are you going to say?
I'm just saying we could just look at the slate that they have announced of the solo movies, and we could pretty much maybe pick out the ones that would fit into under the Avengers thing.
Well, look, even the way they promoted Shang-Chi, they said, meet your newest Avenger.
Exactly.
Yeah. But the thing is, we have to wait for these movies to release.
Yes.
Fans also have to attach themselves to these new characters. Some of these characters, these fans have never seen before. And Marvel's hoping that they love them as much as they love the other ones.
Well, Shang-Chi was an Avenger. Some of the Eternals have been Avengers. Moon Knight's been an Avenger. So
we're talking in the comic books.
Yeah, in the comics.
It's just scary, yeah.
All right, guys. Question is for you. What do you think about Kevin Feige's comments? I mean, we don't believe that there's never going to be another movie with the word Avengers in it, but how do you interpret what he's saying? How do you kind of equate that or rationalize that out with the other stuff that we already know? Whatever you guys are thinking, jump down into the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. Hey guys, we want to take a moment and thank a sponsor of today's video, HelloFresh. So guys, look, my wife Ann and I were both working professionals, so we know how tricky, difficult, and time-consuming it can be to try to eat properly and prepare your own meals at home. And that's why, like over a year ago, we started using HelloFresh. With HelloFresh, you get farm-fresh, pre-portioned ingredients and seasonal recipes delivered right to your doorstep. I mean, you skip the trips to the grocery store and count on HelloFresh to make home cooking easy, fun, and probably most importantly, affordable. HelloFresh offers the flexibility you need to easily customize your orders online or right in the app. Easily change your delivery day, food preferences, and plan size, or skip a week whenever you need to. HelloFresh is 72% cheaper than a restaurant meal of the exact same quality, and you can save on average over $65 a month when you order HelloFresh instead of going grocery shopping. So guys, I'm telling you, whether you are single or have a family, you are going to love HelloFresh. So go to HelloFresh.com/Campea16 and use the promo code Campea16 for up to 16 free meals and 3 free gifts. That's again, HelloFresh.com/Campea16 and use that promo code Campea16 for up to 16 free meals and 3 free gifts. HelloFresh, America's #1 meal kit.